I've built websites before, but trying Webflow for the first time felt different. So let's talk about it. All right, so before we talk about my own experience, let's talk about Webflow. Webflow is a part of this growing low-code / no-code movement. Essentially, it's a website builder that lets you design and build fully functional websites without needing to touch a single line of code. Imagine having the creative freedom of tools such as Photoshop or Figma, but instead of working on just the visuals, you're actually building a fully working website. It also gives you a lot more control, so it's a little bit more preferred over website builders such as Squarespace. For UX designers or really any creative person, it is a real game changer. A lot of us are really good at designing layouts or user flows, but coding is not really in that skill set. So Webflow actually helps close that gap. So yes, Webflow is an incredibly powerful tool, but how does it actually feel to use it? Let me walk you through my experience. So why did I even decide to create this website in the first place? Two big reasons. For one, I needed a site for my business, and for two, I needed a tool to help me attract new clients. It's really that simple. In today's world, if you're running a creative business, having an online presence isn't optional. It is essential. I wanted something that can showcase my skills, communicate my value, and ultimately attract the right clients. Now, let me walk you through my process, or let's call it my get it done approach, because I'll admit I skipped a few traditional steps along the way. First up is mood boarding, or in my case, skipping the mood boarding altogether. Definitely not a good thing. It's just, for me, I had my reasons. I believe in getting something out there, iterating and improving as you go. So no waiting around, just action. And because of that, execution always comes first. Personally, I just feel as though when you get bogged down with the nitty-gritty things before actually executing, you tend to run into a lot of issues, such as maybe being a perfectionist, creating excuses, waiting on other people or other things, just overall too many things that are taking too much time. And that's really it. So for myself, to avoid taking too much time and getting stuck, I just skipped the mood boarding process. For the branding, I actually kept it simple and consistent with what I already use on YouTube. This not only saved me a ton of time, but it also makes sure that my online presence stays cohesive and familiar. Next is the content. I created a detailed outline of everything I wanted to communicate across the homepage. This included my value proposition, why clients should work with me, services that I offer, testimonials, and so much more. For me, getting the content right is critical and always should be, because it's what tells your story and hooks potential clients. Okay, now wireframes. Normally you start with low fidelity sketches and work your way up, but for me, once again, I ended up skipping this step completely and moving into high fidelity. Not something I would recommend, but I had a specific goal, which was to get the site live as soon as possible. I even used pre-made components, obviously tweaking them to fit my vision and my designs, but it was actually a really great learning moment because I was able to see the difference between how they're built out in Figma versus Webflow. And then finally, I dove into development, working in Webflow in order to bring it all to life. Even with all of the proper steps that I ended up skipping out on, the platform's flexibility made it really easy to customize and adjust as I went. All right, so before I move on to the next step section, if you're getting any value out of this video, please make sure to subscribe so you can see more like this in the future. With that out of the way, let's move on to the next section. Even though the site served its purpose, it is far from perfect. So here's what I plan to do next. First, I'll go back and refine everything. I'll iterate on the design, the structure, and the user flow. Next time, I'll also stick to a more traditional process, starting with mood boarding, developing a clear brand, creating a content outline, and then moving into low fidelity wireframes before jumping into high fidelity and development. And another thing I most definitely want to iterate on the next time I go in is the proper naming conventions for all the components and really anything within Webflow. This might sound a little technical, but essentially it's adopting one of the popular Webflow frameworks such as Saddle or Client First to make your project more efficient. The way that I think of it is that it's kind of similar to adopting a design system such as the Material Design System or Apple's iOS design system in Figma, but on Webflow. Another thing is that the homepage needs to do a better job of showcasing my work. Right now it's functional, but it can most definitely be better. So updating and revising it is the top priority for me. And finally, the branding and vision needs to feel more intentional. Right now it's good, but I know it can be great. So what are some of the key takeaways I took for myself and that I can share with you guys? For one, I would recommend beginning with Webflow's tutorials. They're an amazing resource, and the best part is that they walk you through step by step on how to do certain things so that you're learning by doing. Another thing is to not overthink it, just start. The fastest way to learn is by just jumping in and trying things out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the key is really just to take action and improve as you go. Something that I would most definitely recommend after my experience in Webflow is to get familiar with Figma's auto layout, and then also get a lot of practice with Webflow's positioning and spacing. These were some of the most tricky things for me to properly understand, but once you get the hang of it, it makes everything 10 times easier. And then lastly, which is kind of funny because it almost defeats the purpose of the low code / no code movement, but it is learning a little bit of HTML and CSS. And the reason I say that is because this tool, while it does a really good job of replacing starting a website from scratch and coding it all yourself, I think having a deeper understanding of HTML and CSS really helps you customize things a lot better, understand how things should be built out, and just making the overall experience so much easier and efficient for you. And that's pretty much it. That was my experience designing within Webflow. It is an amazing and powerful tool, and I can't wait to continue making websites in the future. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below if there's anything that you want to see or hear from me. Anyways, I will see you in the next one.